Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Hey, how's your marketing strategy working out these days? Wait, what's that? You're not sure? Oh, you don't have a marketing strategy. Or maybe your strategy is to design great architecture and constantly check your inbox for the next email asking you to design your next project. That's not a strategy. That's hope. And successful businesses are not built upon hope. Let's fix that. Let's start with knowing where you are today, and then we'll share some ideas and resources to show you how to get to where you want to go. We've built a great new tool called the EntreArchitect Build Your Brand Marketing Scorecard, and you may access it right now for free at EntreArchitect.com/scorecard. My name is Mark R. LePage, and you are listening to EntreArchitect Podcast, where I speak with inspiring, passionate people who share their knowledge and expertise, all to help you build a better business as a small firm entrepreneur architect. This is episode 274, and this week I'm with Anastasia Guadron, and we're talking about getting started with Google Analytics as a small firm architect. This episode of EntreArchitect Podcast is supported by our platform sponsors, ARCAT, the online resource delivering quality building material information, CAD details, BIM, specifications, and much more at arcat.com. FreshBooks, the cloud-based accounting software that makes running your small firm easy, fast, and secure. Spend less time on accounting and more time doing the work you love. And Young Architect Conference, the architecture conference dedicated to the emerging professional. Anastasia Guadron, welcome to EntreArchitect Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
It's great to have you here. Anastasia Guadron is a creative with a knack for analytics, which is what we're going to talk about today. She is a principal and creative director at VividMark, which is a small business consultants agency here in Westchester County, New York, right where I am now. She provides the building industry with web creation and optimization, branding, and social media marketing to enhance aesthetics and build more business. She frequently teaches workshops for the AIA, which is where I met her at our local AIA conference. She talks about integrating analytics into business development and marketing plans. And today we're going to talk about aligning marketing strategies with analytics. We're going to focus on analytics. So this is going to be a very interesting conversation. We've never talked about analytics on the podcast before. It's a very important piece of your marketing puzzle. And so we're going to talk about that. And Anastasia's very passionate about this topic. So she has taught an expert session inside the membership for us a couple of months ago, which was very, very interesting. And so I invited her to come back on the podcast to share it with the rest of you. So here we go. But before we get into that, Anastasia, I want to talk about your origin story. And then you have a very interesting origin story. I want to go back to where you discovered your passion for what you do today and give us the story from that point to where you find yourself today.
Yeah. So I always say that I was born into the industry and kind of forced into the industry because I was always I'm the creative in a family of blue collar workers. So architects, contractors, electricians. And I was always asked to, if I was sketching something or writing something, I think my first real job was designing my uncle's business card for his general contracting business, and I was 10. And just a couple of years ago, I had to force him to update that card. I was like, it's time that we update this. And he's like, I love that it's hand drawn. I'm like, no, it's time.
Right.
So I started there as a kid and kind of doing both of these things. And I went to school for creative, for writing, for design. And it all just kind of naturally aligned for me. Then I got a job working at a mid-sized firm in Westchester for Ole. And it was there that I saw all of these things come together for me. And that's basically how I started my business.
Yeah. So what do you do in your business? What are the different services that you offer?
Yeah. So I'll go back a little bit more actually.
Yeah.
So in college, when I started writing all these articles, I started writing all these articles during the internet boom, where everyone was for websites. People were back then, they still do it. It's called spiders. They crawl on websites. It sounds really gross, but basically they, the websites would crawl different pages to see what content was on there.
So that's how Google sees what's on your website, right?
Yeah.
So they use spiders, or they used to.
Yeah, I mean, it's more advanced now, but right. Yes. So one of the ways that people would optimize sites back then was to embed articles. Now you could still do this, but what they would do is embed articles inside the back end of the site. You can't really do that anymore, but you used to be able to just write. I'm sure you've seen them, places where you see kind of bogus article somewhere, it's like and you could tell that it's made up.
Right. So you were
so
trying to trick Google and the other search engines
Yeah.
to highlight your website because it had the right words and the right phrases.
Yeah.
And that was early on, that's what Google was looking for. It was looking for specific words and specific phrases, and that would push your rankings to the top. Today,
Right.
it's much more sophisticated.
Much more complicated and sophisticated in a wonderful way.
Yeah.
And easy to, not easy, but once you figure out the formula, you can make it happen. But that's how I got started, is I started writing those articles for those websites for like, I was in college trying to pay for college, like $50 an article, and I was just cranking them out.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it all aligned for me, was that I realized that like being a creative was not like, you could not in this new age just be a designer or just be a writer and get your business the attention it needed or deserved. Like, you have to align with data in order to see if it's working for you, and to shift. That's the other thing. And to make sure that it's effective. I really believe you can't be a creative without understanding data. And that was what my business was founded on, was that concept of watching the internet grow and seeing what happened to content when you did that. And then also really enjoying being, drawing and writing. And so I just slammed those two things together.
Yeah. And I would say that you're in a very good market, because I think that architects and creatives, when they hear data and that they really need to know their data and to manage their data and to use it and leverage your data, a lot of them sort of curl up and like, I don't really want to do that. That data means numbers and analytics, and it's the other side of the brain that we typically don't use, and we don't use it for a reason. We like using the other side of the brain. We like being creative and being sort of released from the data side of our world. But today, in the day and age that we live in, it's a requirement if we're going to be in business, which is what architects are. I know some of us question that, but we're in business to make money and to have great projects and to earn a living. And in order to do that, you need to be recognized. You need to be able to be found. You need to be able to market yourself and share your brand. And that all comes from data, right?
Yes, it's so true. I always tell. So I started speaking about this a couple years ago, and whenever I have this, like my slides, actually the one I did for you, is I always put this elephant in the slides, because I've only worked in the AEC industry, and I always know when I walk into the room, everybody says, well, I get all my business by referrals.
Right.
Like, and I'm like, I know. That's what but it's just no longer that way. We can't function that way anymore, because the first thing if you gave me a referral, the first thing I'm going to do is not call that person, is look them up on my phone. That's the first thing I'm going to do.
Right.
Immediately. And so if you're nowhere, or if you're hidden somewhere, then maybe you don't get the call. Hopefully you do, but maybe you don't.
Right. If somebody refers you and they search your name or your firm name on their phone and nothing comes up, or it's like Yelp, and different, directories that are, crawling the yellow pages and populating their sites, and there's no data on you, there's no information on you, there's no website that you have control over up front at the top of the rankings, then you literally don't exist. And they'll just move on to the next one, because they just assume that, you don't exist.
Yeah, it's true. And it's, so I always say, like, that seems like it would be really scary. But once you figure out like how to place yourself in that system, then you actually can save a lot of money doing it that way in terms of like marketing dollars. And the other thing I was thinking of was to tell you was like, so marketing for the industry didn't actually start like officially until the 1970s. So we are naturally behind in the AEC industry in terms of the way we've used marketing, and the way, it was like always those carrier books or whatever, like, so it's different now. And I always try and put that into perspective when I talk to people. It's like, okay, I always give that slide with the statistics, like, 70% of people are on Facebook, and there's YouTube has more than like 1.5 billion users per month, like that kind of thing. Those are important things for us to know. But also I tell everybody, like, take that in context to like the way our business runs. Like AAC does run differently. So I always tell people, like, don't try and like match if you're trying to work on your social media presence, don't like take your Instagram and like compare it to like, I don't know, some big brand like Target
or some fitness guru.
Some fitness. Yeah. Right. You're not going to, or like an influencer who's speaking all the time and like, you're not going to like, well, they have 14,000 followers and I have 300. Like, the most important thing is that you have engagement and that you're consistent with it, and to see if and using the data to see if it works for you. But that's always like really to take it in context of, for our industry in general.
Right. So, okay. So if we're going to accept that we have to sort of use data in order to sort of get us noticed and get us up in the rankings when people search for us, so we're there when people look for us, what are some of the things that we need to do at a very minimum level? What are the things that must be done?
So I would say the first thing is always activating your Google Analytics account. So most people now have some form of a website. And if you don't, then you can easily, if you wanted to build it yourself, you could build it yourself on Squarespace, or Wix or any of those. But the first thing is to activate Google Analytics. It's usually, if you have one of those sites, if you have either like Squarespace or Wix, you can have their analytics built in, but there's an easy enough connection that you could walk through and do it to connect it. And then for WordPress, if you have a WordPress site, there's a plugin, an app that basically feeds all the data in there. So that would be the first thing I would tell everybody, is because it's free. You can get some really cool data. They're constantly changing their algorithm and updating it and giving you more information. So, it's actually, you can get lost in I know I can get lost in the rabbit hole of looking for like analyzing the way people go on your site and the way they reach you. Cause it's not just about how they're functioning on your site. It's about how they're getting there. And then also, where are they going afterwards? Like, that's what, like, if I was to say two things we needed to look at, there's lots of fun things you can look at in terms of demographic, like, do they play golf? Are they women? Are they men? Are they, you can look at all that for free. But the biggest thing is like, how do they get to you? And like, where are they going afterwards?
So in order to activate your Google Analytics, you need a Google account. So, and almost everybody, I think, at this point has some sort of Gmail account or some sort of Google account. If you don't, you need to sign up for a Google account, which is easy. You just sign up, for a Gmail account, and even if you don't use it, then you have the account. And that one account basically activates everything for Google. You don't have to have all different Google accounts. You have one Google account, and then you have access to everything. And then from that, you'll be able to access Google Analytics. And Google Analytics, on the Google Analytics side, it gives you a pretty easy instructions on how to set it up. But like you said, Anastasia, if you're on all these other websites,
WordPress,
WordPress, there, it's easy to set it up on that side as well.
It's so easy. And the other thing is, if, say, for example, that still seems like it's like too busy for you to handle, or just, time consuming, most of the websites have their own analytics built in. So you can get a pretty decent like understanding. Now, I would still recommend Google Analytics, but if you just wanted to just get a taste for it and say, I would say you can also just engage in the analytics of the site. Like Squarespace analytics are pretty good, and they're also constantly updating them.
And WordPress has its own analytics as well.
Yeah, they all do. So you could use them. They just won't give you as like in depth of like demographics. I don't think they give you like I know Squarespace doesn't, but they don't always give you like the links where it comes from. And that's important, especially if you're like advertising somewhere or have your photos somewhere of a project, or wrote an article and posted it somewhere, those are good because you could see if you're actually getting traffic from that and see like, I don't know, if you spent $200 on something or you sponsored something or whatever, or even you could just see the effort. If it was free, just your time is worth writing that blog post. Like if you're getting, traffic from something that you're writing for,
Right. So
or even social media. Yeah.
So if you wrote an article and posted it on another side of the guest post, you'd be able to see the traffic that's coming directly from that post to your website to see if it worked.
Yeah. And that I think is really important.
Yeah.
That's where I feel like data really works now, where where it saves you money, is that if you see it doesn't work, you do it a couple of times and you say, okay, well, I'm not going to do that, rather than like doing a year-long contract as a guest blogger for something or whatever. Right. You just stop, just move on to the next thing. It just allows you to really put your effort where you're going to get your money, like where you can get return.
Or if you're going to pay for advertising, if you're doing a Google ad or a Facebook ad or something like that, you can see whether it's worth the effort and the money.
Yeah. A good example of that actually is so you think that Instagram is like the hip and trendy thing. And we started doing for a client, we bought some ads on Instagram and we were running them, and we're like, Facebook, you're still, I don't know. I always say this is year Facebook is going to die, but Facebook is never going to die. Well, they own Instagram, but they really just figure out ways, like they are looking at their data because of all these, like they have all their data and they're looking at it and they're just, manipulating their system to figure out like the best way to garner. Like one of the things is their groups right now. Everybody's like part of those pages, like the town pages, and they've just really figured out that system. So we did these ads on Instagram because we're like, Instagram, like we're going to do it on Instagram. And then we were like, let's just throw some on Facebook. And we noticed the Facebook ads were like really kicking butt. I mean, we were getting some really good traffic from it. And we're like, who thought that this, and we just stopped the Instagram ads and put extra money in Facebook, and like traffic and calls and revenue just pop. So that's the great thing with data, is like, then we weren't running 2 ads. We saved some money and then better results.
Right. So once we set up that Google Analytics account and we have access to that, what would be like the next step? What would we do? I mean, you don't want to just throw an ad and see what happens. What's sort of like the next step after they set up that Google Analytics account? What should they do at that point?
Well, so I mean, you mean beyond like reading the report, or?
Yeah, I mean, when you go into Google Analytics, it's a little bit overwhelming because there's so much data. There's like 15 different buttons on the left side, and each one of those buttons has another 10 options below that, and you can dive into it, like you said, you can go as deep as you want to go.
Yes.
And so that's overwhelming. So is there anything that, like 2 or 3 things that are the things that we should be looking at when we get into Google Analytics? Sort of what should we filter out so we don't get overwhelmed? What are the things we should focus on and say, okay, that's going to tell me, how my website is doing on a monthly basis. I come back every month, I'll look at it, and I can sort of see, or I can look at the graph and see how this thing is working.
Yeah, so there are 2 things. The easy way and the kind of simple starter way would be just that main page, that the overview is, it gives you the traffic. So you want to use that like as a baseline. And I think that we sometimes discount the power of just understanding traffic in general as a data tool, because there are so many other cool tools to look at. So sometimes people like overlook that. But, if you say, for example, you did a bunch of proposals in 1 week, or you went to like a networking event, or you went somewhere, you should see a jump in your traffic. So right on that homepage of your reporting, that's always the first thing on. It's like the first data box there. And that's really important because it just allows you to see the efforts you're making, if they are also working. Whenever we do like a networking event, I generally see like a slight spike. And that means that people took my business card and they're looking at it, or, and so I think that's definitely the first thing to just always look at that if you're running email campaigns, if you're doing any other type of effort, to check the dates and just see if there's traffic. If it just stays the same, then okay, maybe that's not working. So that would be like one of the first things I would say to look at. And then the other thing, which is also on that homepage, is where the traffic is coming from. So there's a map. Just click on that map and that will let you drill down to see. And as a, sole architect and a small business, it's really important to see, you can drill down to each town. Like, it will tell you there are 5 people from Katona are looking, 4 people from Larchmont are looking. And that's really important because it allows you to see, like, if all of your work is in Katona or where,
Yeah.
you can see if that is giving you traffic to your site or if they're new people. Like, understanding your demographic is really important to your business. It's cool to know if they're male or female and how long they're on your site, and that's all very cool. But it's really important to understand where they're from. Just that simple knowledge, I think, is huge.
Yeah, that could be very valuable because, I mean, for one, it may be different than you think it is. You might be doing a lot of work in one town and you go into your analytics and you see, 5 visits from another town that you don't even have work in. And you're like, oh, somehow, some way, people in that town are talking about me and they're looking for me. Mm-hmm. And so now you can start marketing to that town. You can go back to Facebook and Instagram and all these other places where you can target towns, and you could, run an ad for that town for your service and maybe grab some work from knowing where your traffic's coming from, without, pretty easily done.
Yeah, and one of the things we've done as a result of learning that data, that information, is a lot of the times the specific towns have the small newspapers, and a lot of them have email lists, and we've paid like a couple $100 to send out. They send it out for us. We create the ad, and they send it out to their 7,000 people in that range. And that's worked pretty good, so that's you get that data. Then you can really start to think of strategies around the information, right, which is kind of cool because we always did it backwards. Like, we always did it the other way. Like, let's just try this and see if it sticks, which is good because now we can analyze that. But it's pretty cool to do it the other way around.
Right. See where it's all naturally coming from, and then address
respond
that.
to it.
Yeah. Very interesting. And there's a lot of different things. Like, if you have that email list, you can take it to the next level and sort of, you can use, we're not going to get into this because it gets deep, but you can use pixels and ways to know who's hitting your site and then retarget them with another ad.
Yeah.
So if you pay for those 7,000 people and you get 10% of them to hit your site and then they just go away, then they just go away. But if you know they're coming and then you know who they are, you can retarget them and start marketing to those specific people.
Exactly.
That's a podcast for another day, or maybe an expert session because it gets deep. We'll be right back to our conversation after this quick break to say thank you to our platform sponsors, ARCAT, FreshBooks, and Young Architect Conference. Are you heading to the AIA Conference on Architecture in Las Vegas this week? Me too. I'll be there. And on Friday, June 7th from 12 to 3 p.m., I'll be joined by my friends Evan Troxel and Cormac Phelan of ArchiSpeak Podcast and Lance Psycho of Inside the Firm podcast for the first ever ARCast. We'll be broadcasting live from the ARCAT booth, interviewing people who are helping to build a better profession. So join us under the big red A at booth 5735. That's booth 5735. Come say hi, and while you're there, check out what our friends at arcat.com are doing to help you save time and make more money as a small firm entrepreneur architect. That's at the AIA Conference Expo floor in Las Vegas on Friday, June 7th from 12 to 3 at booth 5735. We'll see you there. Do you remember when you started your architecture firm? It was no small feat. It took many late nights and many early mornings. Bottom line, you've been insanely busy ever since. So why not make things a little bit easier now? Well, our friends at FreshBooks have the solution. FreshBooks invoicing and accounting software is designed specifically for small business owners like you. It's simple and it's intuitive, and it keeps you way more organized than the dusty shoebox filled with crumpled receipts. Create and send professional-looking invoices in 30 seconds and then get them paid 2 times faster with automated online payments. File expenses even quicker and keep them perfectly organized for tax time. And the best part, FreshBooks grows alongside your business. So you'll always have the tools you need when you need them without ever having to learn the ins and outs of accounting. Join the 24 million people who've used FreshBooks. Try it for free today, 30 days, no catch, no credit card. Try it for free at EntreArchitect.com/FreshBooks and enter EntreArchitect in the How Did You Hear About Us section. That's EntreArchitect.com/FreshBooks. Are you an emerging architect? Do you want to failure-proof your career? Then you will want to attend the Young Architect Conference on August 23rd through the 25th in Portland, Oregon. This conference, which was created by Young Architect founder Mike Rosica, is all about feeding your connection and knowledge necessary to truly succeed in architecture as a young architect. That means you'll learn the next most powerful steps you can take after receiving your license. You'll learn how to be a better leader. You'll learn how to build your brand, stand out in a competitive market, use social media, and grow a following. You'll also learn how you can leverage your talent and values to give back in the most meaningful way. You ready to save your spot? Space is limited, so grab it now. Visit EntreArchitect.com/YoungArchitect. That's EntreArchitect.com/YoungArchitect and use our promo code ENTRE, ENTRE, and you'll save $150 when you register. That's EntreArchitect.com/YoungArchitect and use the promo code ENTRE. ARCAT, FreshBooks, and Young Architect Conference. Please visit our platform sponsors today and thank them for supporting you, the EntreArchitect community. So, looking at your traffic, would that be the referrals? Is that what we're talking about?
It's a map. It's maps.
Locations.
That's not referrals.
So, okay.
Yeah, those are locations.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're looking for locations.
And then referrals, definitely referrals, because again, that's just as we kind of discussed before, is wherever you're putting, wherever you're already putting your marketing money, it's important to see if that's working, and also to just see, because sometimes they'll come from like the Yellow Pages or House or all these other places that maybe you just kind of threw something together, or it's just on there naturally or whatever. And if that's working, you might want to then pay. Like I know that there's like a debate with House, like some people like it, some people don't. But I have like one client, it really works extremely well for, and who knows like exactly the reason why,
Yeah.
but his traffic to his site, it really, really works. And then I have another client, doesn't really garner that much traffic. So we have a nice little profile and you leave it there. The other person, we feed pictures into it. Yeah, we feed it because it really works. So, and who knows, maybe, but it's important to know the referrals is a really important thing. And then the other thing I would say is the time. This one's like a little is it like a little iffy in terms of, is it a top like priority to look at this? But is how long they're on your site. It depending on the kind of site you have. So if you spent some time creating like a news section or a note section where you write about design and architecture, then you really want to see that people are staying on your site. And I think that's really important.
Right. So if you write a blog, you want people you want to be able to see that they're on it for a few minutes, because then you know that they're reading the articles. If they come in, they're hitting your blog site and they're bouncing out, within just a few seconds, then they know they're not interested in what you're writing about.
Exactly. So I think it's really important for that. And also, I always warn people like not to get scared of the bounce rate. That's called bounce rate
Mm-hmm.
and that's always on that first page when you go into Google.
Right.
That's
Right. You look at it and you're like 80%. Oh my goodness.
yeah, but nobody's staying on my site. Everybody hates me. No, but it, sometimes that's a really good thing if they're jumping on your site to get your phone number. Like, and everybody does that. I do that. You're like, I want to call this person. I'm just going to go on their site and hit the phone and then the phone button or hit the phone number and just call them.
Yeah.
So you want to look at, you can drill down into that. You can click it and it will tell you like what pages that bounce rate, why it's high. So you could see like if it's the contact page, then awesome, or the home page, okay, awesome.
And bounce rates are typically high, right? I mean, they're typically in the 60 to 80%, right?
Yes. I've never seen one like under 40, depending on like if it's like a real like news section,
right,
like a page.
Right. But for the sites that we're building, it's typical that you have a pretty high bounce rate.
Yes. I'm so glad we say that because I don't want people to like go onto their analytics after this and then be like, oh my God.
Right. It's worthless. The site's worthless. Scrap the site. We got to rebuild it. Spend $10,000 for a new site. And then it's still 80% bounce rate.
Yeah. But it's a good thing if you see that. And there's other software out there that is free, like Hotjar is one where they will record people going onto your site, which is really cool, especially if you really were concerned about the bounce rate and you were digging into this and putting marketing strategies against your analytics and you were like, okay, we're going to take one strategy at a time. We're going to check this out. Hotjar is really good because, and I always say to install this if you're just launching a site too, because if you just launch your website, it's important for Hotjar. It records people actually navigating your site. It will give you their location of where they are, and then it will tell you, it will show you, it record them like moving around the screen.
Right. It's kind of spooky because
I always say it's the creeper.
It's like a screen recording of somebody reviewing your site. And so you can see where they're clicking and where they're moving and where they're scrolling and where they're stopping. So you're assuming they're reading if they're stopping, and then they scroll some more and they're reading some more. So you can see what they're actually doing. And so you can see if your call to action buttons are in the right place. You can do a test. You can move the button to a different place and then try it again. And then you can see, well, this works better over in this location rather than this location. You can do a lot about it. And it's Hotjar, right? HOTJAR.
Yes, and it's free. Yep, hotjar.com, and it's free for like and you will never use like all these software for the AEC industry. We're never going to use it beyond the billion pages it gives you. We're not that kind. We don't get that kind of volume. So you can use the free subscriptions. Well, for the most part, but pretty much all of them you can. A good example is when we launched the AIA Westchester site a couple years ago, I installed Hotjar. I was reviewing it one day and I loved, I was just sitting there, I was looking at all that, and I love looking at the way people are functioning and seeing if the design and functionality is working. And I kept noticing that people were looking for the join me button, like to join AIA. And I was like, oh my God, we don't have the join me button on the home page. How do we not? Yeah. And so we just moved it and put it there and, solve the problem. So it is good for that if you just launch a site. And it's also good to see if you have a high bounce rate to see, okay, they're scrolling to get my phone number. Like, I'm good.
Right. Right.
Or if they're trying to get an email address or something like that, then your bounce rate is going to be really high.
Yeah. Very interesting. And actually, I have another question about traffic. But before that, I wanted to share a fun fact. I built the first AIA Westchester Mid-Hudson website.
You did?
I built the first one, and I built it unsolicitedly because they told me not to, because it was in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was like back when architects were like, I don't need a website. What do I need a website for? Those are sort of, I get referrals from the phone, and I had a website, and I was, that's where I was at that point. I had a website that was working, and I was trying to teach other architects, you need a website. It's important. And finally they came around, and most of them. And I was on the board as an associate director. And I brought it to their attention. I said, you should have a website. And they're like, oh, we don't need a website. We have a newsletter. And I'm like, well, I'm going to build one. And then if you like it, you can post it. And so I built the first chapter website.
That's amazing. And that's a true testament of how data works with us and websites and the internet works to help us, because look how much the chapter has grown over the years. And look, I'm not saying it's just because of the websites that we both built, but it's true. It really does help get your name out there, and it really gives you a presence and allow people to find you.
Yeah. And there was probably 2 or 3 websites between mine and yours. Just, you didn't replace mine. Mine was done on some crazy software that doesn't even exist anymore.
Oh, like First Web, or
I don't remember what it was.
I used to do that when I was doing the those internet articles and embedding them. We used to do crazy software.
Yeah, back those early websites. Yep.
Yeah.
And so the other question I had about traffic, because this is an important question, because I think when people go to their analytics and they go to their traffic and they see that they only had 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 visits per day, they're like, oh my goodness, other people I go online and I Google how many visits should I have, and I get 1,000 visits a day. Why am I only getting 1 or 2? What's typical for people who are listening, like a small firm architect builds a decent website, does the work that they need to work? What kind of traffic should they expect?
So that's an average number. And I'm really glad you said that, because so it's about, I would say, whenever I start with any client, it's usually around 2 to 4, depending. If they have like 12 people working for them, usually it'll be like in the 6 range, 6 to 8.
Right.
But yeah,
so that's 2 to 6 people. 2 to 6 people. Right.
Yeah.
So when you go to your analytics and you see that low number for traffic, that's where it should be. If it's 0, then you have a problem. But you want to have, a handful of people who are looking for you and looking for your services, hit your site and review what you're doing there. And so it's not a big deal if you don't have 100 or 1,000 visits per day.
Exactly. I would say the only time that you should hope that you have more, like in the double digits or like 8 to 10 or 12, is if you, again, have some type of constant content on your website, some type of blog or newsletter. If you some type of effort like that, you definitely want to have more, because you should have some readership or an audience. So that's where you should have a higher number. And also, if you're paying for ads. So if you're paying for Google ads, you should see a jump in that number, because you're paying, even if it might not be the exact person, you are paying for people to come and visit your site. So that's the only time I would say that you should really worry, is if it's, and I always say, if you're starting your marketing strategies and really implementing a plan, if you start at like 2 or 4, you want to try and get to 6. Like I always say, like get to 6, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at homeowners, or, you're not, so it's.
Well, it's an interesting exercise, because when you see those numbers and you say 4 and okay, now I set a goal, I want to get to 6. Now you go back to your website and say, well, how am I going to drive traffic to this site? What do I need to do? Do I need to do some marketing from Facebook? Do I need to do some blogging? What do I need to do to get more people to see me? And maybe what do I need to do to get the rankings higher in Google? Are there specific things, if we're not going to just throw keywords and phrases on your website, what are some things that we can do today to get higher in the rankings?
So one of the things that's also free, and when you create that Gmail account, is Google Business, my Google Business. It used to be my Places. It used to have all different names. That's that little section, if you go to look up somebody, where their website and their information comes up on that right-hand side in a little box. Yep. So I would say that really helps, because that tells Google that, I am a business, I am legit, here's my website, So that gives you that, legitimacy. The other thing I would say is that one social media account. So there was, for a while in the industry, there was a debate whether Google's algorithm accounted social media in terms of ranking. And for a long time, there was a debate because the algorithm is, they don't share their algorithm.
Right.
So, but there are people like me are like trying to figure out how the algorithm works, and it changes all the time. So it has come out that social media does count and it does rank it. Again, they're not going to give us exactly how but I say one social media account, especially if you're a small firm. You don't need to have 10,000 accounts. Choose one that you like, not one that you like think you need, one you'll use and that you'll like.
And that your audience is there.
Yes. Yeah. And that your audience is there, but it really does need to be something that you feel connected to, that you feel like you'll do it.
Right.
And do one, and that will just, even if you post one a week or two a week, start with one a week, that consistency again will have people sharing, engaging, and anything that somebody is touching your website or touching your name inside of, the online sphere, that counts to Google as okay, they matter.
Right.
So that's something you can do too.
And that's generally what the algorithm is trying to do. What Google is trying to do is to take the people who have the most authority, the people who are the most real, that they're really what you're looking for, most relevant to the search, I guess, right? So if you're looking for a residential architect in Westchester County and you search for that, they're not only going to find the pages that say, Westchester County architect on their website, but they're also going to look at the different inbound links to your site, the different references on social media to your company.
Yeah.
It's looking at all these different things and determining whether you are the most relevant answer, that the person who is searching for you is whether your company is the one that they're going to serve to them.
Yes.
And that's sort of, at a very basic level, what the algorithm is trying to do.
Yes, and those are pretty much all the things that it uses. The other thing that is a little a little techie is, but not really, is indexing. So sometimes if you build your own site and you just get your own domain and it hasn't been established already, you do need to tell Google that your site is real. So a lot of people don't know that. So either you pay somebody to just make sure that they do that, or you can do it just by getting on that Google. You just type in all you really need to do is index my site, and you click on that first link, and it's like Google will take you in step by step on how to do it. Super easy. Yeah. But that's the other thing that people don't realize. That really will change your traffic if you haven't done it. Is having your site indexed, because it basically tells, it's like a library. You've said this is, here is my book, here is my website. So you do need to make sure that your site is indexed.
Yeah, that's an important one, because a lot of us may be, starting new firms, building new websites that haven't been out there for a long time. And that's how Google initially recognizes that you exist.
Yes.
And then it'll start doing its thing with the algorithm.
Yes, definitely. The other thing you could do in terms of your ranking and traffic is, especially if you have a Squarespace or Wix site, which a lot of small businesses do, one of the things is that they just implemented into their backend is an SEO section. So you can just type in your keywords and your little blurbs in there. Before you used to have to index that, code it in. Now you just it just says type it here, and you just type it in.
Yep. And WordPress has a similar section as well, SEO
they have
section.
Plugins and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is very interesting. I think that when I first thought to invite you and to talk about analytics on the podcast, I was a little bit nervous that, how are we going to talk about data and analytics on the podcast and make it interesting? But I think we did it. I think that that the information that we provided here about setting up a Google Analytics account, some basics on what you need to know in order to get in there and gain some value from that, pretty quickly because we're busy. Small firm architects are doing so many different things. We're wearing so many different hats. To throw another thing, you have to be a data analyst. It's not that big of a deal. You could do it in an hour, and you can go check it in 5 minutes once a week to see how it's going, and then track it. Google Analytics tracks it for you, but you can also track it elsewhere and set some key performance indicators to see, okay, these are the things I'm going to look at every week, and you can track them and see how you're doing. And then make it really simple and make it an actionable piece of your marketing strategy.
Yeah.
Super interesting. Is there anything else that we should mention before we wrap things up here, Anastasia?
I would say, just to jump off quickly, what you said is to you don't need to have it on an Excel spreadsheet or anything like that. You can just have a little pad that you have next to you that just says traffic on this date was this, and just to see, have a little pad, because I know everybody's got a little competitive streak inside of them.
Yeah.
And if you see, to be able to physically see that down on a piece of paper in front of you every day is, I don't know, that's what we do here. It's on our chalkboard, but that's what we do here. And it really helps to just be able to see it, not just have to look it up. But
I love that idea of sort of putting together sort of a way to track it, post it up so where you see it every day. You can sort of set your goal. Here's where I am. Here's where I want to be. And here's the progress that we're making. Maybe note some of the things that you're doing to make that progress. It'll give you some incentive to keep going.
Yes.
Very interesting. I love this. I love this topic because when I dive into analytics, I get a little overwhelmed. And I would assume that most architects, when they get into Google Analytics, they get a little overwhelmed. Is there any advice that you can give people in terms of, about that overwhelm, that, because it's a little intimidating to sort of to use that side of our brain and to dive into that stuff. How should we address that?
So, I mean, it's all one thing, right? So the data itself is already a part of your business. And so all you're doing is just giving yourself 30 minutes or an hour a week, even just to understand it. It's like having somebody in the room that's already there and you don't know their name. So you're just introducing yourself to them and just getting to know them. So you don't need to think about being Google Analytics or data's best friend. You just want to know who's in your room and how to communicate with them. And that's really the best way to think about it. And instead of it being oh my gosh, I need to just take all this on. You don't need to take it all on. You just got to know how it's working.
That's very good advice. The data is already there.
Yeah.
All you want to do is look at it.
That's it.
Very interesting. So I ask everybody that comes on the show one question, and maybe this is one action point that they can take today. What's one thing that a small firm architect can do today to build a better business for tomorrow?
So I would say, even though we said this, is to make sure you have Google Analytics set up or some type of analytics set up, and just take it doesn't even need to be an hour, but just choose 30 minutes or 15 minutes to just read the data. If it's not Google Analytics, then it's whatever's on your website. Just understanding and introducing yourself to your data.
Yeah, I love it. On the web, it's thevividmark.com. The company is VividMark, so it's thevividmark.com. Anastasia is active on pretty much all social media, so you can just search either The Vivid Mark or Anastasia Guadron. It's Guadron, no E, right?
Yeah, no E.
Anastasia, this was a very interesting conversation. Thank you for sharing your knowledge here today on EntreArchitect Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It was super fun.
So there you go. Google Analytics in 30 minutes or less. Go check it out. Go check out Google Analytics. I think the information and the data that you'll find there will help you build a better marketing strategy for your architecture firm. It is a little overwhelming. It's a little intimidating once you get into that data. But I think with Anastasia's advice of just looking at one or two things and looking at it as, information that's already there, it's just sitting there waiting for you to look at, go check it out. I think that you'll learn something that will allow you to to improve your website, improve your marketing, maybe even improve your networking and where you're networking and how you're networking. That data is already there waiting for you. So grab that. Hey, if you are at the AIA conference right now, this is Friday, June 7th. This episode is launching Friday, June 7th. This afternoon in Las Vegas from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., I am being joined by my friends Evan Troxel and Cormac Fallon over at EntreArchitect Podcast, and my friend Lance Psycho of the Inside the Firm podcast, two of my favorite podcasts. We're all hanging out over at the ARCAT booth right now, booth 5735 under the big red A. Come over and hang out. Say hi. We're going to be there for a bunch of hours, just hanging out and talking to really interesting people. So come join us. You know, if you want some more information about marketing, if you want to sort of understand how your marketing strategy is working currently, we built a tool. We built an assessment tool called the EntreArchitect Build Your Brand Marketing Scorecard at EntreArchitect.com/scorecard. It's a really simple, easy tool. Go there at EntreArchitect.com/scorecard. 4 simple questions. Answer them as honestly as you can. We're going to pop out a score, and then we're going to send you some information to help you build a better marketing strategy. So go check it out right now. EntreArchitect.com/scorecard will get you that for free. And I think that you're going to like it. If you like the calculators that we built for the Profit course, this is really one of those things that will help you look at your marketing in a new way and help you build a new marketing strategy. So if you are an entrepreneur architect, and if you're listening to this, you most likely are. If you're an entrepreneur architect who runs or owns your own small firm, then you, my friend, you're an EntreArchitect, like it or not. And I encourage you to go build a better business so you can be a better architect. Hey, I'll see you in Vegas. Love, learn, share what you know. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.
Imagine earning continuing education credits while doing exactly what you're doing right now. Well, you can. Gable Media has revolutionized the way you earn your continuing education credits with a groundbreaking approach. Forget running around town and scouring the internet for credit-worthy courses. Fulfill your CE requirements effortlessly by listening to engaging podcasts just like the one you're listening to now. Our podcasts are designed to educate, entertain, and inspire, all in a user-friendly environment. But wait, there's more. Architects, Gable Media is also approved as an AIA continuing education services provider. Upon completion, we handle everything, from reporting your hours directly to the AIA to storing your certificates in your personal Gable Media profile for your self-reporting needs. So follow the link in the show notes and start earning your credits in the most innovative and entertaining way possible with Gable Media.
Attention architects and creative minds, get ready to supercharge your brand with Build Your Brand, the podcast that's unlocking the secrets of branding success for creatives. Hey there, it's Mark Arlepage, founder of EntreArchitect, and I'm inviting you to join my friend, architect marketing expert Jeff Eccles at Build Your Brand Podcast, where he explores the captivating stories of the world's top brands and transforms their lessons into powerful moves for small firm architects and creatives like you. In Season 1, Jeff shares the thrilling tale of Southwest Airlines, where he dissects their journey to the summit and distills it into strategies tailor-made for you.
It's important to keep in mind that companies like Southwest compete in the real world, just like you, and face real-world challenges, just like you. You might be surprised at how similar those challenges are to the struggles that you grapple with on a day-to-day basis.
Don't miss out on your blueprint for success. Subscribe, tune in, and let's build your brand together.
You may have noticed that the very best brands in the world are also known for having somewhat unique corporate cultures. That's often the glue that holds everything together when they encounter those rough spots.
We don't do it because it inconveniences the passengers to whom we are primarily dedicated, the short haul, frequent flyer.
Follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Your Brand today. Remember, no matter the size, the journey's the same. Your brand's journey to the top starts here.